What's good, everybody? Coming to you live here from my backyard. Thought I'd do a little change of scenery since this is super impromptu. Um, I just did a live yesterday. Gave you all some of my thoughts about Bad Bunny being the Super Bowl halftime performer. So make sure that you check that out as well. And as always, you all know the rules to the game. Make sure you hit that subscribe button while you're here. Appreciate the support, and definitely want to be able to keep this thing going. And as part of that, your support is tantamount or paramount. Is it tantamount or is it paramount? Not sure which one. Um, the funny thing about doing this from my backyard, I've had to do sometimes, it usually has been some accidental reason that I've had to do this from my backyard. And it never fails that whenever I do a live from my backyard, all of a sudden it's a 5 alarm fire. Like I hear the fire trucks right now. Suddenly the loudest birds in the universe come out of nowhere. And I live somewhat close to the airport, but typically I never hear planes. But you can best believe that because I'm doing this from my backyard, that there will be the loudest bird ever. Somebody's probably going to start just randomly mowing their lawn. And of course, there's going to be any other kind of strange noise that I can't even begin to describe. It's just the way it works. That's how, whenever you do anything outside, it never fails. So, at any rate, I'm doing this live because I wanted to respond to Napheesa Collier of the Minnesota Lynx, their star player. She, when I tell you that she went in on WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, I don't even think "in" is a proper description. Like I've been covering athletes and teams and leads for nearly 30 years because naturally it's because I started when I was 5. But when I can tell you, I've never seen a player go in, a active player go in on the commissioner of their own league the way that Napheesa Collier went in on Cathy Engelbert. I mean, literally, you can put everything she said about this woman to hit him up. Like all she had to do was start off her statement with "That's why I bleep your bleep," and that would have been the perfect kind of intro to all the bombs that she dropped on Cathy Engelbert. And I'm gonna go through the video with y'all in just a second. But I can tell you that when the WNBA All-Star Weekend happened, and they were showing all these, we got a lot of content about all the fun the ladies were having, and a lot of togetherness. And it was like, yeah, this is what the league is about, especially when so much of the discourse of this season have been about who's jealous of who, and the NBA, WNBA is full of jealous players. And something told me that this particular video, this one right here, of Cathy getting her groove on, something told me this was not going to age well. I knew this video wasn't going to age well. I was like, yeah, it's all fun and games right now, but you all are in a contentious CBA. And because of that, it's moments like these that tend to live a little bit in infamy. Something just told me that's going to be the kiss of death. So right there, you see the players. You got the stud buzz and everybody else. They were I think they were dancing. Wasn't Wipe Me Down. Maybe it was Nuck If You Buck. But anyway, I'm not gonna play the music because I don't have any money. I'm not trying to pay for it, and they'll instantly demonetize this if I play the music. But I knew that moment was gonna come on back. So fast forward to today, where the Minnesota Lynx, like every team does, they have exit interviews where you meet with the media to officially sort of close out the season. It's voluntary whether or not you decide to meet with the media, meaning that there's no league fine that happens if you don't decide to do this. And today was the Minnesota Lynx's exit interview day. And Napheesa Collier, I guess to give this even more context, is she obviously she was injured pretty badly in Game 4 between and Minnesota and Phoenix. Uh, it was, as they call it, a bang bang play. Alyssa Thomas went for the steal. I thought it was a clean steal. Fee winds up getting hurt in the process, injures her ankle very badly. Cheryl Reeves loses her mind. Like she, if you gonna get your money's worth, that's how you do it. Cheryl Reeve has to be held back by several of her players from the officials who she had been at odds with the entire game. And the officiating was bad in that game. It's just, I didn't think that play was a foul. But her star player gets hurt. The officiating's been bad all game. You know, the Lynx still have an issue. They still have an issue with how the finals ended against the Liberty, because they were subjected to some bad calls in the finals last year. And we saw that, that went all the way to the hill. So all of this has been building, and she had to be held back from her players from physically confronting the refs. Then on the way out of the arena, she dropped so many F-bombs on all those fans who were there that it was it was really outstanding. So she mother, what's all the fans on the way out. Then she gets to the podium and goes in on the officiating, the league. She didn't name Cathy Engelbert, but she just said this officiating is a problem just in general. And so she is fined. She is given the largest fine that they've ever given. I think a player or a coach. I think she was fined like $15,000 for all of her behavior. And she was suspended for the series deciding game, which Phoenix won, and they're now headed to the WNBA finals. Okay, so that's the backdrop for this. So we haven't heard from Napheesa Collier until today. And when I tell you, she read Cathy Engelbert for filth. She read her from A to Z, from the book of Genesis to Revelations. She read her all the way through all of them. And it's just something that you never see. So let's get into it a little bit with what Napheesa said.
Thank you all for your time today. I have prepared a statement that I would like to make before taking any questions. All right. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate the Mercury for advancing to the finals. And I want to be clear, this conversation is not about winning or losing. It's about something much bigger. The real threat to our league isn't money, it isn't ratings, or even missed calls, or even physical play. It's the lack of accountability from the league office. Since I've been in the league, you've heard the constant concerns about officiating, and it has now reached levels of inconsistency that plague our sport and undermine the integrity in which it operates. Whether the league cares about the health of the players is one thing, but to also not care about the product we put on the floor is truly self-sabotage. Year after year, the only thing that remains consistent is the lack of accountability from our leaders. Sorry, I had to walk here in my boot. I'm kind of out of breath.
You know what? I'm going to stop it right there. Just real quick, okay? Because first of all, for Fee to come with the prepared statement, that means that she had time to think about this. So this wasn't some snap decision that you caught her in the heat of the moment after a game, after that play happened. Like, had she said this after they were eliminated, everybody would have been like, okay, understand, because this is the heat of the moment. No, she had time to think about this read. So you knew it was going to be good. Let's keep going.
The league has a buzzword that they've rolled out as talking points for the CBA as to why they can't pay the players what we're worth. That word is sustainability. But what's truly unsustainable is keeping a good product on the floor while allowing officials to lose control of games. Fans see it every night. Coaches, both winning and losing, point it out every night in pregame and postgame media. Yet leadership just issues fines and looks the other way. They ignore the issues that everyone inside the game is begging to be fixed. That is negligence.
All right, here's another thing you guys should know too. The WNBA officials are not full-time officials. And that's a problem, because if you're hiring part-time officials, you're wondering, frankly, about the qualifications. I think in many instances when I watch the games, and basically I feel this is the same way in women's college basketball as well. It feels like the officiating hasn't caught up to where the game actually is. It hasn't caught up to the athleticism of the game, The physicality is an issue. And it's tough, though, with that a little bit because, one of the things we routinely talk about when it comes to, when it comes to like the NBA, for example, is about kind of the lack of physicality. Like it's almost too easy. And so like there's got to be a balance. I would say for, that the WNBA and the style of play does kind of remind you of 80s, 90s NBA basketball, where, what would be a suspension or what would be a flagrant in the men's league is just like a common foul. And that was something that I think a lot of new fans and casual fans were unaccustomed to watching the game. So it feels so much more physical. I kind of like the physicality to a point, certainly not to the point where it at all jeopardizes player safety. But I do think a little bit of physicality is certainly not a bad thing. But they let people sometimes out and out mug people. So that point needs to be made.
At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Cathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them.
Hold up. Wait a minute. That ain't even a hold up. That's a wait a minute. Not wait a minute, a wait a minute. WAYMENT. Wait a minute. Cathy Engelbert, in a private conversation with one of the league's best player, some think she is the best player, whatever, somebody who is consistently in the MVP conversation. She told Napheesa Collier that Caitlin Clark ought to be happy and grateful that she has the WNBA platform. Now, I'm sorry, what? And then she said the players ought to be thanking God, basically. She owes some, I got you all this. Y'all need to be thanking me. Maybe somebody need to tell Cathy Engelbert, ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis. Ain't nobody coming to see you. So to say that to one of your league's best players, I mean, is this the season of audacity? What are we even doing here? Let's keep going.
Mentality driving our league from the top. We go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. The league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them. I have the privilege of watching my husband run a league where he has to balance 100 different things at once. I won't pretend the job is easy, but even with all of that on his plate, he always takes the time to reach out to players when he sees an injury, whether it's Unrivaled or even during the WNBA season. That is what leadership looks like. It's the human element. It's basic integrity, and it's the bare minimum any leader should embody. This year alone, I've gotten calls, texts, and well wishes from so many players across the league. Those moments remind me that sometimes there are things bigger than the results than this game we play. But do you know who I haven't heard from? Cathy.
Multiple flexes are happening here. One, in case you guys didn't know, Napheesa Collier's husband is the president of Unrivaled, the league that Napheesa and Brianna Stewart co-founded. That was a huge success in its first year. And you'll see it back again. It's a 3-on-3 league. It's amazing. The one-on-one tournament that league had, fire, okay? Anyway, so one, she's like, not only do I not respect your leadership, I also know how to do your job better than you do because my damn husband is running the league that I started. Oh, she hit her with one of those. Hit her with one of those. It was like, I know what real leadership looks like because I'm married to it. Yikes.
Call, not one text, and said the only outreach has come from her number 2 telling my agent that she doesn't believe physical play is contributing to injuries. That is infuriating, and it's the perfect example of the tone-deaf, dismissive approach that our leaders always seem to take. I've finally grown tired. For too long, I have tried to have these conversations in private, but it's clear there is no intention of accepting there's a problem. The league has made it clear it isn't about innovation, it isn't about collaboration, it's about control and power. I've earned this platform and I've paid the price to get here, and now I have a responsibility to speak on behalf of the fans and everyone in this league that deserves better. Our leadership's answer to being held accountable is to suppress everyone's voices by handing out fines. I'm not concerned about a fine. I'm concerned about the future of our sport. At some point, everyone deserves to hear the truth from someone who I hope has earned the benefit of the doubt to fight for what is right and fair for our athletes and our fans. We have the best players in the world. We have the best fans in the world. But right now, we have the worst leadership in the world.
Hold up, y'all. She said, we got the best fans, the best product, the best players. But you know what we don't have? A good leader. You know what we don't have? A good commissioner. That is called a verbal dog walking. She verbally dog walked Cathy Engelbert. She said, in case you didn't know, you're the problem. Oh my God.
Exactly what the job entailed, maybe I wouldn't feel this way. But unfortunately for them, I do. We serve a league that has shown they think championship coaches and Hall of Fame players are dispensable, and that's fine. It's professional sports. But I will not stand quietly by and allow different standards to be applied at the league level. Thank you.
I mean, after that, what can you say? Like, there's just nothing to say after that, right? It's like, you got dog walked verbally in public by one of the best players in the league, one of the faces of your league. So my question is now, where do you go from here? Because this is the thing about Napheesa Collier, is like, she has credibility in that league. The players love her. They trust her. It's why she's part of the executive leadership team in the Players Association. It's why she is, because of her voice and because she does things like that. She does the tough stuff and has the tough conversations when they need to be had. And I think it's pretty clear that the players do not trust Cathy Engelbert. And it's actually been clear for a while. And I can tell you that I have had private conversations with players, and both former and present. And many of them have expressed the exact same thing that Napheesa Collier said. And if you notice across social media, from Angel Reese to all different players, they were all doing this. That presents a significant problem for the league. Because if the players, now, don't get me wrong, the players are always, there's always going to be some tension between commissioner and players. That's just the nature of professional sports. You see it in the NFL with Roger Goodell. You see it in the NBA with Adam Silver. But at the same time, there is professional respect in both of those leagues, despite the issues that may come up in the league in which the players and the commissioner and or the owners are on opposite sides. The players have no respect for Cathy at all. And you have to wonder, if you're a WNBA owner and you see that they feel so disrespected by this leadership that they're willing to air somebody in Cathy's position out in public, that is a troubling, bad sign. And at this point, just playing this out, right now they're in the middle of a very contentious, but the most important CBA they've ever negotiated. Nneka Ogwumike, who is the player president, she alluded to this. I think it may have been during All-Star Weekend, or just she certainly made comments on my podcast, Spolitics, which if you're not already subscribe to it. It's on iHeart, available wherever your podcast, wherever you listen to them. But they have talked about the fact that, you know, these initial offers that they're getting from the owners have been completely disrespectful. And according to what Napheesa said, is that they're representing a mentality, and it's a mentality that you see in all of, you know, when it comes to women's sports overall, treating them. Notice what Napheesa said that Cathy Engelbert said about Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, who is probably the most important WNBA player of this generation, she told Napheesa Collier that Caitlin Clark should be grateful. Grateful is the word that she used. With that kind of mentality, which again is pervasive throughout women's sports, generally, I know everything is always a money conversation. Well, they're not bringing in this, so they don't deserve this and this and that. A lot of times, even when they do have the money, they still have this disrespectful attitude that the women that play sports just need to be happy that somebody letting them play. You just need to be happy that we allow you to bounce a ball. You just need to be happy that you're able to be on TV and play this game in America. Just be happy you be here. Don't come here and demand anything. Demand some dignity, some respect. Are you crazy? You need to be happy that we even let you suit up. That is a mentality that is unfortunately very pervasive in women's sports. And so, because of that, the players and the owners and league leadership are at odds because they feel like so far these CBA negotiations have very much reflected that mentality. So if the commissioner has that mentality, and that's the person they're sitting across the table from that they have to negotiate this new contract with, what do you think that means for whether or not a CBA can even get done? Now, I have been of the opinion that with, the CBA, my thinking is that, yeah, it'll get contentious. Yeah, it'll be some back and forth. But at the end of the day, I felt like there's too much at stake for a deal not to get done. But now that I see this latest development, I'm pretty sure a deal is not going to get done. Not if Cathy Engelbert is the one leading these negotiations. A deal is absolutely not going to get done because the players have no respect for her. And if she's carrying that mentality in a personal conversation, what kind of mentality do you think she's bringing to the negotiation table? So just to give you guys a little bit more insight, Cathy Engelbert is picked by the NBA to be commissioner. So the WNBA doesn't even pick its own commissioner. The NBA does. And to me, that's already problematic. I get that the NBA is the big brother league and they finance the league. And so you say, okay, you finance the league, then you should be able to make the decisions, even though it's a new day and the finances look a lot differently than they used to. So that means that the person they pick isn't necessarily somebody who has the best interest of the league at heart. Listen, I don't know Cathy Engelbert. I don't know. I've never had a conversation with her, but the way she has come off in several interviews to me is in opposition to the future that this league is trying to have. They need a commissioner that's built for this moment. The WNBA it's always been a great league, but now it has an opportunity to build something that we've never seen in professional women's sports. And you need the kind of forward-thinking commissioner who has the trust and respect of the players in order for that to happen. And they don't have it. Because if the players really feel that way about her, and it is clear that they do, because I think Napheesa Collier was representing a majority opinion in this league, then how are you going to move forward with somebody that nobody respects? That's somebody that they don't have any faith or trust in, that they can move this league. They can use this moment that's happening now, this supernova moment that has been created right in this moment, and use that to go forward. How's that going to happen with that kind of leadership? So, and it's funny because a private conversation I had with a former player before this season even started, and she told me that there was no way that Cathy Engelbert was going to make it out of the year. She told me that then, and I thought I was like, what? Are you serious? And it's not because I felt like the players loved her, loved Cathy Engelbert, that is. It is because, I didn't realize the sentiment that really was the popular sentiment that really was about her. And sure enough, when I saw an interview that Cathy Engelbert did, and she was being asked about the Angel Reese Caitlin Clark rivalry, and she was asked specifically about how that rivalry, while it's been on one end, it's been kind of great for business because it's gotten the league more eyeballs. we know that there has been undercurrents of racism and misogyny that also has been attached to that narrative. And the players are being, Caitlin Clark is being weaponized against the black players in the league. I'm going to just say what it is. And so as a result of that, many of them are taking a lot of racial abuse online and elsewhere. And so Cathy Engelbert was asked about this because it's pretty obvious. And her response was not the type of response that a good leader would have. For one, she seemed to dismiss these concerns about how this overt racism and misogyny and abuse that many of the players are taking, like she just completely dismissed the wellness of her players and said it was basically good for the league. Her position was essentially like, they got to get called out of their name and for us to be popular, then oh well. Like what? The commissioner of a major sports league shouldn't say that. And in talking to players publicly and privately, they all thought that was some bullshit. I'm gonna just keep it 100. And so it is not surprising that we've gotten to this moment. The most surprising part is that Napheesa Collier decided that she was willing to air out the commissioner and her league just so that they could move forward. And I think this is a strategic play by Napheesa Collier because Fee is probably thinking the same thing that I'm thinking, in that this leadership can't continue if it's like this. And so I frankly think this is her and the players' way of getting Cathy Engelbert about the paint. Plain and simple. And so, you know, when you're in the middle of a CBA, that does not bode well. But I don't think that the NBA, since the NBA is the one that is making this commissioner decision, and hopefully that changes because, again, I don't think they should. But they're going to have to do something about her because, like, this is not going to go anywhere if they continue to keep this leadership. Now, Cathy Engelbert responded, and she said that she felt like Napheesa essentially mischaracterized their conversation. She didn't say she was lying. She just said, like, oh, basically, I mean, I said it, but I didn't mean it that way. It's like, what? Okay. So she's trying to save face, made this statement, which, I mean, frankly, hey, I guess tweet through it. Good try, good effort. But I think what people saw from Napheesa Collier is she established a much different narrative that Cathy Engelbert it's gonna be impossible for her to recover from. And let me just read you something. I was texting with a player today, and this is what because after this drop, I was like, I gotta see what people think about this. So the player that I was texting with said, she said Cathy Engelbert is undercover MAGA and she need to go. And I'm like, did she just when she explained, when I asked her to follow up, I was like, do you mean that like literally? I don't know what Cathy Engelbert's beliefs are. But she said to the players, she represents the Mad Hat. She said to the players, she represents the red hat, and the WNBA needs to move on. Okay. The red hat. Oh, yeah. And this is one thing that we should know, and we've seen from the WNBA players, is that despite the fact that they are so grossly underpaid, and while there are certainly a few players that have outside revenue streams, Unrivaled is providing one. Players can still go overseas. Players like Angel Reese have huge endorsement. Caitlin has huge endorsements. Paige has endorsements. Like, there are players that if there's a strike, they would be okay, financially. But the one thing that we have seen that these young ladies have demonstrated is that they don't mind risking it all. They've done it too many times. So these kind of fights, this is kind of what they do. You know how there's that phrase about everybody got a plan until they get hit? These women been hit. And so they already know if they get knocked down, they know how to get up and they know how to punch back hard. And trust me, this is the type of people you don't want to get in a fight with. You don't want to get in a fight with somebody who know how to take a punch, because that means you're going to have to really take them out for them to stop. And so the thing is that even though the WNBA is in this incredible moment, this year WNBA attendance again set another record, viewership set another record. Caitlin Clark only played in 13 games, and the league ratings were still through the roof, still up 20-25%. And they know financially what's at stake. They know financially they're in a unique moment. You have the New York Liberty that are valued at $450 million. You have the Valkyries out in the Bay. Their value of they have a valuation of $500 million. You have like 7 or 8 teams that are having above $200 million valuations. So they know exactly the moment that they're in. But they also know if they don't get the respect and what they deserve now, they'll never get it. And one thing that we have seen across professional sports is like when the players aren't willing to go to the mat for certain fights, they never get the opportunity to do it again. They never are able to create that leverage point to where they can do it. That's why I don't think you'll ever see fully guaranteed contracts as a league standard in the NFL. You will never see this, because at this point, the players have shown that they're not willing to miss a lot of checks. The owners' pockets are much deeper, don't get me wrong, but they're not willing to do what needs to be done to make that happen. The WNBA players are willing to do that to make it happen. If it means generations after them are able to be in a much better place, a much healthier and robust place financially, player safety, all those things, yeah, they're willing to do it. And again, this has been something that they have demonstrated throughout their history, because the thing about a lot of female athletes, why they tend to be more vocal, why they tend to be more willing to engage in fights like this, is because they're used to having to fight for their respect and their dignity. And so because they're used to doing that, this ain't nothing new to them. I mean, the WNBA players were key and critical in the 2020 presidential election. They got Reverend Raphael Warnock elected. He was polling at 9%. They basically went after one of the owners of the league, Kelly Loeffler, who was part owner of the Atlanta Dream. When she said that they were essentially anti-American and that they had no right to demand anything when George Floyd was murdered and the players stood up, and even with Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, she said the players had no right to do that, called them out. And they said, okay, call us out. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get this entire league behind the person you're running against in the Senate and get you not just off. They not only got her out of Congress, they got her out of the WNBA too. So this is who you're scrapping with. And you think they're scared of Cathy Engelbert? You think they won't get her up out the paint too? Yeah, they will. They're not afraid of the smoke. They want it all. So if I were Cathy Engelbert, I would be working on my resignation letter. And that's real, because the players don't respect you. They're willing to air you out. They're willing to take this as far as it needs to go. So right now, you need to be thinking about what your severance package should look like. That's the only probably conversation that you and Adam Silver need to be having. Because these ladies, they don't mess around. And as I said at the top of this, never in my entire time as a professional sports reporter have I ever seen a player do that to a commissioner. I've never seen it. I've seen them get mad. I've seen them say certain stuff. but have a prepared statement and have a whole room full of reporters and just read you for absolute filth throughout it, I've never seen that. So good luck. Because there is not going to be a CBA if you keep this woman as the helm of leadership in this league. She's not the leader for the moment. It's okay. You know, certain leaders are only meant to get you so far. I think it's very well established at this point that they need somebody to take them in a new direction. Anyway, I had to get that off my chest. I had a lot of thoughts. I thank y'all for joining me. And as I've said before, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Continue to check back here because now I think you certainly with regularity can expect me to react to breaking news, important news. And so make sure that you're always checking into this page to see what's new and see what's coming up. So I thank you guys for hanging out with me. Appreciate all the comments, appreciate the love, and we'll definitely appreciate a subscribe. So that's it for this Tuesday. We'll see how this develops. You know, with the way our news cycle goes, I can do this every day for sure. So check y'all out.